Hey guys, it's Tim, and this is Pro Wrestling Unlimited, as we are here live, very, very late on the 15th of March, talking everything that went down at tonight's Ring of Honor 17th Anniversary Special. I thought, for the most part, this was a really good show. There were some things that weren't that great, like some of the earlier stuff. And then there was other things that was like, wow, that was really cool, that was really good. I wouldn't say this was a great show, but I'd say that this was a pretty good show all around. Now, before I get into it, we do know of a number of things now going forward to G1 Supercard at Madison Square Garden on April 6th. We've got some teases for that show. We've got some kind of guarantees for that show. And so let's just start running it down. And as people come in, they come in. Thank you guys that are watching live. It is 9:55 Pacific time. So what is that? 9, 10, 11, 12, almost 1 a.m. Thank you to Luke, Mike, Gabriel Perez in the live chat. Again, thank you guys to everyone watching live, or if you're watching later on YouTube.com or listening on iTunes. So with that, Ian Riccaboni was on commentary alongside Caprice Coleman and the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis tonight. I thought that was pretty cool, having Nick Aldis on commentary. I mean, the commentary, unfortunately, in some things, kind of took some of the matches down, like the latter half of the World Championship match. It kind of took that down a little bit. There were some of those times, even though I like Ian Riccaboni, I think he's a really good announcer, he kept talking about himself a little bit. So Luke might probably not taking calls tonight. Depends on how long the actual review portion of this podcast goes, and then we'll play it by ear, but most likely not, since it's already so late. So the show opens up with Marty Scurll, the current number one contender, or the next number one contender for the Ring of Honor World Championship, who's taking on Kenny King. This match was a solid opener, perfect way to get the crowd going early on in the show. So Scurll dashed at King early on out of the gate and knocked King out of the ring. He ran over to the other side of the ring and super kicked his doppelganger, a guy that looked just like him. Crowd sounded to be very on board with this match. King returned Scurll's initial attack with an enziguri. He got great heel heat for this. After a few minutes, King missed a tornado to the floor, and Scurll used a tornado DDT from the apron to the floor. This looked excellent. Crowd was going nuts just a few minutes into this match. Nick Aldis on commentary kept playing up how Marty Scurll will be challenging him for that NWA World Heavyweight Championship at the actual, the Crockett Cup show. So I thought that was good how he kept throwing that in there. At one point, King used a spine buster, a real nice Arn Anderson-style spine buster on Scurll. Momentum shifted constantly in this one. Very quick pace. Crowd was consistently behind Marty Scurll for most of this match. At one point, they kind of got behind Kenny King, the hometown boy, but it wasn't much. They started chanting for the finger break spot. Scurll used a float-over suplex on King, though King reversed it doing a float-over of his own into the Royal Flush. The two were down at this point for a few moments, getting their bearings about each other. King was able to get back up first and grabbed a chair and brought it into the ring. As referee Paul Turner was trying to get it out of the ring, playing tug-of-war with King, Scurll grabbed his umbrella from behind Turner's back and was able to pop King in the face with the butt of it and scored the victory. Now, it was a little convoluted here at the end. He did use the butt of the umbrella, pop King in the face, but he went to throw it out of the ring and it didn't go out of the ring, so the referee looked over and saw it, and then they had to pretend that they didn't see it. But all things considered, Marty Scurll had to win this one, because not only is he going to MSG to challenge for the championship there, the Ring of Honor championship, but he's also going to be going to the Crockett Cup show and challenging for the NWA championship as well. So they got to keep Marty Scurll looking strong. Next up, in my favorite match of the night, it was Jeff Cobb defending the ROH World TV title against Shane Taylor. La Rana Nation in the live chat asked, is Tenille Dashwood done with Ring of Honor? Not yet. Her contract apparently expires at the end of March. She hasn't re-signed yet, so we'll see how it goes. I haven't heard either way, but I hope they keep her, because once she's healthy, which she should be able to wrestle at G1 Supercard, once she's healthy, she's going to be a very, very good asset to that Woman of Honor division, and they need more women. So I thought this match for the World Television Championship was an excellent match. The pace and athleticism by both men was really on point here tonight. Both Jeff Cobb and Shane Taylor were just two big guys able to just hoss each other around. Cobb wore shiny new black and a gold singlet for his title defense. Kind of cool. You know, the title's gold and black, so he wore gold and black. I liked it. The two went at each other hard early from the inception of the match, exchanging elbows. Cobb used a back suplex on Taylor, who no-sold it. Cobb used a picture-perfect dropkick early on, though Taylor himself was able to return quickly with some brutal chops. Taylor did a somersault senton off the apron to the floor onto Cobb. It was pretty. Well, it wasn't pretty, but for his size, it was pretty effective. He didn't look that great, but it actually worked out pretty great. Crowd lost it when Cobb did a stalling deadlift pump handle suplex on Shane Taylor. And Shane Taylor ain't no little boy. Later, Cobb went so hard on a lariat that Taylor that he ended up sliding face first through the first ropes to the floor. He waffled this guy. Cobb then pushed the pace here nonstop with jumping elbows, more drop kicks, and standing moonsault. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome" at this point, as the power of Cobb was really on display. Taylor came back with a huge spine buster, a Uranagi, and a splash for a 2. Or a splash off the turnbuckle, second turnbuckle for a 2. Taylor then used a Canadian Destroyer on Cobb for a 2.9. Yes, Shane Taylor and Jeff Cobb did a Canadian Destroyer. Again, these two guys are great. They got holy shit chants and both of these guys chants. I don't usually like the both of these guys chants, but because both of these guys were just so phenomenal in this match, I was like, I'll give it to the crowd this time. Cobb came back quickly and used 2 Tour of the Islands on Taylor for the victory. Basically, he did the first Tour of the Islands. Taylor just got right up. So he's like, I'll get you again then. He got him again. Everybody in the building was on their feet at the end of this match. And it just seemed like they had seen a classic. And I thought this match was a classic. I loved this match. It was my favorite match of the night. Then the next match, when I thought Mayu Iwatani may have been killed. Whew. Sorry, I was reading something in the chat. I don't understand that at all. So with the Woman of Honor Championship on the line, Mayu Iwatani was defending against the former champion, Kelly Klein. This is a rematch from the last Ring of Honor show where Mayu Iwatani did win the championship. These two women went much harder at each other than they did in their last match. The heat was better tonight. The drama was better tonight, but the crowd really just was not into it. Iwatani and Klein shook hands before the match, the code of honor. Klein was aggressive from the get-go, mostly brawling, using lots of elbows and knee strikes. Iwatani fired back with 2 sling blades, followed by a great Northern Lights suplex with a single leg hook on the much bigger Kelly Klein. That's kind of impressive, the way she hit her with a great Northern Lights. And Kelly Klein's like twice her size. Sumi Sakai was loud in her cheerleading outside of the ring. You can clearly hear her screaming for Mayu Iwatani. The two traded German suplexes, but Klein was just absolutely brutal. There was a spot where Kelly Klein runs at Mayu Iwatani from behind and just grabs her. Like, she bounced off the rope. She grabs her, throws her as hard as she can, thinking maybe she weighs more. Because here was my thought on this. Like, it's a Randy Orton kind of deal when he does stuff with the Singh brothers. Where was that one spot last 2 years maybe now, where Randy Orton went to throw the Singh brothers onto the announce table. And when he does that spot, he usually picks up heavier guys and drops them on the announce table. Well, when Randy did the one Singh brother, he went to lift the Singh brother up and he threw him. And this is what seemed like what happened with Kelly Klein. She went to grab Mayu Iwatani, maybe thinking that she was heavier than she was. And when she went to go for the German, Iwatani just flew. Basically landed right on her head and neck and rolled right through it. I thought she broke her neck the way she landed, especially if you see a still shot of it. It just looked so brutal. So brutal. It hurt me to see it. Iwatani seemed to be fine, though, and she came back with a moonsault. She went for another moonsault, but Klein put her knees up and started pounding on Iwatani, even pulling her hair. The match ended seemingly out of nowhere when Iwatani used an inside cradle on Klein for the victory. Again, a good match, sloppy in spots, and the crowd was just never really behind it. And it's not clear where they're going with the Women of Honor Championship for MSG and G1 Supercard either. I would have thought maybe Kelly Klein wins tonight, and then you do a third rubber match kind of deal at the Garden, but maybe they've got a plan for that Women's Championship at the Garden. Maybe they do like a multi-woman match to get a bunch of women on that show. That's what I would do. Since, well, what I would have done, like I said, was another match between the two. But now that we know who the actual, the winner is, I can see them maybe doing a multi-woman match to get as many women on that show as possible. So they can all say, hey, we wrestled in MSG. We wrestled on this historic show. So next up, we had the Ring of Honor, a World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Jay Lethal versus Matt Taven. First half of this match was okay. Second half of this match is what you need to see. Like, it was a great match. Again, wasn't my favorite match. The TV title match was my favorite, but this was right up there. Now, I'll just say it right now. The match, if you didn't hear, the match went 60 minutes. It went to a 60-minute time limit draw. And typically, in matches that are going to a 60-minute time limit draw, a lot of the fans can tell around the 45-minute mark, oh, this is probably going either 60 or right up to it. Once you hit that 50-minute mark, 55-minute mark, oh yeah, this is going to the time limit. But it's not like in New Japan where they say 30 minutes have elapsed. 45 minutes have elapsed. You had to know when it started. Excuse me. You had to know when it started, and they keep looking at your clock to keep track of time yourself. So that was the one thing. It was like, okay, they weren't telling us how much time was left or how much time has happened. But, you could tell how long this match had gone. And I think it was a benefit of the match to not keep telling how long the match had been going on for. Because if you knew, they're 50 minutes, 55 minutes, you knew that, okay, this match has got to end here. This match is going to, So I liked how they didn't keep harping 30 minutes down, 45 minutes down. So the crowd, early on in this match, didn't know what to expect. The in-ring work was very solid and flashy. You could tell they really thought out a lot of these spots ahead of time, knew what they were going to do. First half of the match saw some interference from the Lifeblood stable and the Kingdom. There was a time when Matt Taven was knocked down and Jay Lethal yells, the elbow, or something like that. And the announcers go, I don't know if that was smart of Lethal. Lethal shouldn't just call a spot like that. Taven will know what he's going to do. Yet, how slow Lethal was climbing to the top rope and how quickly Taven got up, Taven was going to know what he was going to do either way. And I thought that was the thing with the announcers here tonight. They tried to dumb it down. So to me, this match was probably better seeing it live because I felt like the announcers tried to dumb it down and tell us why they were doing all the different things, all the different spots, all the different interferences. So as Lethal goes to the top rope, balloons start floating up to the ceiling. And out comes Vinny Marseglia, and he hits Jay Lethal with a baseball bat behind the referee's back. TK O'Ryan, I think is who it is, the other member of the Kingdom, came out. And so He hits him with the baseball bat. The referee's distracted, and out comes Jonathan Gresham. Jonathan Gresham tries to come to the save of Jay Lethal, and he gets attacked by the Kingdom. They basically bash his ankle into the barricade with a steel chair. Lifeblood members, Mark Haskins, and I can't remember who the other one was. You could tell my knowledge of Ring of Honor. Who the other guy was, came down to try and stop it. They had set up a table. Remember this, they had set up a table. I think Marseglia did. And that does come into play later. All these guys, eventually left ringside area, and we got the second half of the match. So, at one point, Lethal went for a lethal injection, but Taven blocked it and turned it into a lethal inside out. And turned Lethal inside out with a spinning wheel kick. Lethal was eventually able to return and attack, beginning to work over Taven's back. That was the thing. He worked over Taven's back and knee, and Taven worked over the arm and shoulder of Jay Lethal throughout this match. So, going forward, Taven slowed down the pace quite a bit here. Put him in some longer submission spots. At one point, the two had a standing face-off, and Lethal did a Shibata headbutt. Crowd popped great for that. Both men were just completely, you could tell these men were tired. And they were looking right at each other. And Taven said something. And I think I couldn't really quite hear it, but I thought he said something about Lethal's mom. So Lethal just headbutts him right in the face. So a little bit later on, Taven suplexed. Literally. Remember that table I told you he had set up? He suplexed Lethal out of the ring. So Taven's standing on the apron. He suplexes Lethal from inside the ring to outside the ring through the table. Both men crash and burn on the floor. Lethal wasn't moving for a minute or two. And I'm just like, these guys killed each other. I thought that spot was, I don't know about that one. So at this point, I was surprised when we started hearing "Let's go Taven" chants and "You suck Lethal" chants. Because the crowd, you would think they're going to be all behind Jay Lethal, but Taven really started working the crowd over and getting the crowd on his side a little bit. It wasn't the whole crowd, maybe like a quarter or almost half. But it was a credit to both of these guys and how hard they were working. After Taven kicked out of a lethal injection, the crowd was so supportive of both of the guys. The announcers even said on commentary, "Wow, this crowd loves both of these guys." Excuse me. He DDT'd Lethal on the apron, then later pulled out a ladder and laid it flat on the apron and the guardrail, not the guardrail, but another table that was set up at ringside. Lethal. I don't know what Taven was going to do, but Taven was like standing on the apron over the ladder. And so Lethal just runs and drop kicks him and he falls down onto the ladder. So Lethal climbs to the top rope and goes for an elbow, but at the last second, Taven rolls off of the ladder and Lethal doesn't really crash through the ladder, but he slams straight down onto the ladder, breaks it a little bit, and then falls off. I don't think that spot was really needed this far into the match. We already knew how beat to hell these guys already were. So I don't think doing that spot, I mean, it helps a little as far as it further damaged the arm and shoulder of Lethal that Taven was really working over for most of the match. So they teased the match ending here with some ring boys carrying Lethal to the back, but Taven did a giant plancha onto everybody, including Lethal, and quickly threw him back into the ring and did about 5 or 6 tips of the knees to the face, where Lethal looked just completely dead, knocked out, all kinds of out. So he goes to pin Lethal. So first he has like 3 of them. He goes to pin Lethal. Lethal kicks out at like 2. So then there's like 6, 7 of them. Lethal kicks out at 2.9. Like, he kicked out so early that you could have said that was a 3. Like, not so early, but so late. Because you heard Todd Sinclair's hand hit. He could have called that a 3. So, going forward, Taven then dove off the top rope, but Lethal countered with a big, huge lethal injection cutter. Again for another 2 count. The crowd was on their feet at this point, chanting, "This is awesome." The two started slapping each other really super hard in the face until Lethal used 3 super kicks and finally hit a lethal injection, only for a 2. Crowd was pretty much losing their crap, losing their minds, losing their everything. And then all of a sudden, Todd Sinclair calls for the ring announcer. And he starts pointing at his wrist. I'm like, you ain't got a watch on. What are you pointing at? He tells him, it's over. It's time. That's it. Time limit. I'm like, wow. This match went to a time limit draw. Crowd immediately starts chanting 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. And for a crowd, especially how this crowd was early on in the show, not really into much, for this crowd to want more after an hour of these two, you got to give it up to these two. You got to give it up to Jay Lethal and Matt Taven for getting this crowd so invested in this match that they didn't care how long this match went. They didn't care if this match would have went 2 hours. They just wanted to see a clean finish, or not maybe a clean finish, but a decisive finish. And they wanted these guys to keep going because they loved the match so much. And I loved the match a lot too. When the match first started, I go, why is this in the middle of the show? But now seeing it, they went 60 minutes. Just in case there was anything where the post-match went long or something happened in the match. It gave it time for wiggle room. Because if the match was at the very end, there may not have been time for post-match. There may not have been time for something in the match to go wrong or right. Or so I understand some people were very skeptical, even after the match, why it went in the middle of the show and it wasn't the main event. But it was all good. So both men are laying on the mat. They give Jay Lethal his championship. He's not moving. And Marty Scurll comes down all dapper, nice in a black suit. Remember, Marty Scurll's challenging the Ring of Honor World Champion at Madison Square Garden. So comes down, looks at both guys, picks up the World Championship, and Ian Riccaboni says, this could be the scene that we see at the end of the G1 Supercard in Madison Square Garden. But then Marty gets out of the ring, still holding the belt. Then Marty walks up the ramp, still holding the belt. Then Marty leaves, still holding the belt. So Marty Scurll stole the Ring of Honor World Championship. Now, Mega Ran came out next. I assume he tried his hardest, but nothing was going to be able to follow this, no matter what it was, whether it was a segment or whether it was a match. Bully Ray saved this. I'm not a big rap fan, like Bully Ray said himself. I'm not a big rap fan, so I didn't really care for this. I think I've maybe heard one Mega Ran song, but Mega Ran and some other guy came out. They started singing some song about going to the garden or road to the garden or on our way to the garden, something I don't even know. It didn't sound good to me, but again, I'm not a rap fan, so I can't really judge this. And they're singing, and camera cuts, and it's like a wide shot, and you see them still singing, but you see Bully Ray standing at the top of the ramp. And I'm like, these guys don't even see Bully. So Bully walks down the ramp. They still don't notice him. Slam Ho Wrestling says, who is Mega Ran? He's basically a rapper where most of his songs are, you can correct me if I'm wrong, either in the live chat or in the comments later. Most of his songs are wrestling related or video game related. I could be wrong on that, but that's just the impression I've ever gotten of him. Again, I'm not a rap fan. I'm not a Mega Ran fan, so I don't know. So Bully walks down. They don't see him. They just keep on going to the garden. Go into the garden. And Bully grabs his chair and throws it in the ring. And they're kind of like, whoa, what was that? So Bully gets in the ring, starts cutting a promo on them. He's like, oh yeah, you're not even creative. You stole your name from a video game. You think you're Mega Man. You got the nerdcore group behind you. Is that your fan's name? And he was like, you suck. I don't like rap. He goes, you're probably one of them guys back in the day that played the SmackDown and the Raw video game. And you were Bully. No, let me rephrase that. Bubba Ray. And Mega Ran goes, nope. I played as Devon. Crowd actually popped for that one. And Bully Ray kicks him out of the ring. So Bully Ray threatens some kids in the front row. I don't even know if they were in the front row, but they were walked up to the barricade. And Bully goes, you and your friend, if you don't you little boy, don't go sit down right now. I'm going to kick your friend's ass. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So he tells the cameraman, he's like, get up on the apron. Put that camera right in my face. This is the money maker. Bully Ray states that he's wrestled at MSG. He's main evented at MSG. He's, quote-unquote, sold out at Madison Square Garden. There's nobody else in Ring of Honor or New Japan Pro Wrestling that can say the same thing, that they've wrestled at Madison Square Garden, that they've wrestled for championships at Madison Square Garden. Even though PCO wrestled at MSG in like the early 90s and even 1998. But regardless. So Bully Ray looks right in the camera and goes, at Madison Square Garden, I'm issuing an open challenge for a New York street fight for anybody in the pro wrestling world to come challenge me. Then he says the line, and you know who you are, and you know you can't beat me. And as he goes to put the mic down, or throw the mic down, drop the mic or whatever, as he turns away from the camera, you hear him say, punk. Which is now leading to people online thinking that we could be getting CM Punk versus a Bully Ray in Madison Square Garden. I don't know if that's true. I haven't heard anything on CM Punk wanting to come back to wrestling. I know Ring of Honor has stated in the past in different interviews, like some of their officials, if CM Punk ever wants to wrestle, we're his home. We could be a home for him. I don't know if he wants to do it. I don't know if it's going to happen. But Bully Ray has issued an open challenge to anybody in the world, any wrestler in the world, to come challenge him in a New York City street fight. And again, a little line at the end where he just nonchalantly said, punk. He's got a lot of people, what's it called? Guessing, I guess you could say. So then we got ROH taking on Bandito, and I was surprised by the finish here. Excuse me. Dalton Castle came down to be on commentary. He asked Ian Riccaboni if it was true that Riccaboni contributed $25 to the bidding war for Bandito last year. As you know, WWE, AEW, and Ring of Honor all wanted to sign Bandito. I thought this was a pretty good match between both guys. Crowd was into it kind of later into the match. Rush powerbombed Bandito through the timekeeper's table at one point. He worked hard and got good heel heat here, especially when he did the Tranquilo pose. Bandito did a Tornillo and a Fosbury flop to the outside. Good portion of the audience. It seemed like they liked Rush and didn't realize that he was supposed to be the heel. He used a deadlift suplex on Bandito for a 2. Bandito later draped Rush over the second ropes and did a springboard 450, kind of like Alberto Del Rio's old stomp, where he would have the guy laying on the ropes, kind of like halfway down the ring, and then he'd do the stomp, drop off deal. Well, he did it with a 450. It's pretty cool. And then the crowd really didn't care much for this. Rush then went for a J Driller on the apron, but Bandito blocked it and did a running Hurricane Rana to the outside. He then went for the 21 plex. Rush countered it and hit a bullhorn, hard basement dropkick to a prone Bandito in the corner and pinned him 1-2-3. I was really shocked that Rush picked up the victory here when Bandito is the one going on to G1 Supercard and challenging for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Now, I don't know if maybe this victory over Bandito enters Rush in there as a 4-way, but they did tease after the match. Dalton Castle got in the ring and did challenge Rush to a match at MSG. Rush, I think, said something in Spanish. He may have accepted, but I'm not sure. The announcers were even kind of iffy on that. They're like, was that an accept? Did he accept or begin this match at MSG? So it does look like we could be getting Rush versus Dalton Castle, at Madison Square Garden. Silas Young then came down to the ring and told something to Ian Riccaboni. Silas Young was supposed to take on Jonathan Gresham. Riccaboni was told that the match is not going to happen because Gresham's knee storyline was injured earlier when it was hit with the chair against the barricade by the Kingdom during the Ring of Honor World Championship match. And in a match that was originally announced for this show, Tracy Williams and Mark Haskins versus Vinny Marseglia and Tiki O'Ryan, we had heard that match is also not taking place. even though they had pulled it from the advertised matchups like last week anyway. So 2 matches that we were originally supposed to get weeks ago, not going to happen. I don't know if they're going to go to the Silas Young Gresham match maybe tomorrow with the TV tapings. We'll see. So then we got, and keep in mind, we're getting the no disqualification street fight world tag title match. And the announcers have to let us know that because that world title match went so long, it went to a 60-minute draw, that we may not even have enough time to get this whole tag team title match in because pay-per-view providers only allotted them a certain amount of time. So I'm like, either this match is going short or this match is going up right up to the time, and it went 10 minutes before the show probably would have got cut off. I thought this was a really good, if you're into hardcore wrestling, if you're a street fight fan, you'd love this match. Again, if you're not into that, you may just think this is all right. So this match was very chaotic, bloody, and it's just spot after spot after spot. Silas Young did stay on commentary for this match. Brody King wore a cast on his left hand. All 4 wrestlers had chairs at the very beginning of the match. It kind of gave me Balls Mahoney, Masato Tanaka vibes. Mark Briscoe did a corkscrew plancha from the top rope to the outside early on. Brody King did a springboard turnaround crossbody to Jay Briscoe inside the ring. PCO did a Michinoku driver off the apron through a table to Mark Briscoe. Then got right back up into the ring and yelled at King to chop him to amp him up. The 2 baby faces then hit Jay in the groin with a chair. It was chaos. Just complete chaos from this point on. King used a running Death Valley driver on Mark Briscoe, putting him through a table again in the corner of the ring. The match then spilled to the outside where PCO and King beat on Jay for a little while. Jay did a nasty blade job. His face was completely covered in blood. If you've ever seen the main event of WrestleMania 20 where Triple H's face is just a crimson mask, that's how Jay Briscoe looked. At one point, King screamed for PCO. He said, "PCO, do something insane." So PCO ran down the ramp, but got back body dropped right on the edge of the apron. Kind of looked like it hurt right on that steel ramp. Remember, he's like 50-51, doing all this crazy ass shit. Mark Briscoe then set up 2 tables outside of the ring and did a diving blockbuster through both tables. A bloody Jay Briscoe then used a gigantic J driller on King inside the ring for 2. Briscoes then brought in kendo sticks and started beating on Brody King. They kind of knocked him out with the kendo stick shots before PCO came in. PCO basically no-sold the kendo stick shots. He would get hit with one, grab it, break it over his knee, and then he goes and gets hit with the second one, breaks it over his knee, and the kendo stick breaks in a way where part of it flew up and you didn't know where it was going to land. And referee Todd Sinclair literally like jumps back as far as he can into the turnbuckle, like, don't hit me with that. It's pretty funny. This looked very, very dangerous. You didn't know where, because PCO was just throwing stuff at this point. And you didn't know where it was going to land. PCO then landed a moonsault on Jay on the inside of the ring for the pin, for the victory, putting an end to what Ian Riccaboni called the craziest, goriest match in Ring of Honor history. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but Jay Briscoe was all bloody. PCO was bleeding from the forehead pretty good. I think Brody King was bleeding a little. All these men were busted up, and I was very shocked that we got brand new Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions here, because the whole Honor Rising tour for New Japan and Ring of Honor, they kept teasing Guerrillas of Destiny versus the Briscoes, Guerrillas of Destiny versus the Briscoes, both tag team titles on the line. But with PCO and Brody King winning, now they move on to G1 Supercard. They move on to challenge for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships with their Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships on the line. So that match is going to be nuts. PCO and Brody King versus the Guerrillas of Destiny. I would have preferred the Briscoes, because now it's like, what do the Briscoes do up G1 Supercard? Briscoes have been around since the beginning. I mean, I think it was Jay Briscoe was too young to even wrestle on the first Ring of Honor show. So he had to be like a manager for his brother. So maybe they make it a triple threat somehow. I don't know. But at G1 Supercard, it will be both championships on the line. The IWGP and the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. The Wheels of Destiny and looks like Villain Enterprises. With that, this was a pretty good pay-per-view. I thought it flowed well, even with a 60-minute match that didn't have a finish, went to a time limit draw. My favorite match, again, was Jeff Cobb versus Shane Taylor. Two big hosses just throwing each other around, doing things. A Canadian frickin' destroyer by these two guys. Just shows how athletic both of these guys are. But, like I said, I liked the show. I wouldn't say go rewatch the entire show, but if you could catch the clips, go check the clips. Maybe if you had to ask, what one match should I go rewatch? Be that TV title match. Slam Hub Wrestling says Briscoes deserve the MSG spot. I mean, maybe they make it a triple threat somehow. Maybe they get granted a championship rematch, and they're like, you know what? And we're not even going to make it like on TV or anything. We'll just give you the match at the pay-per-view, and then they make it a triple threat. Maybe that's the way they can go. We'll see. But with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to say thank you to everybody who was here at freaking 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern with this Ring of Honor 17th anniversary review and recap. I also want to say thank you to everybody who watches later on YouTube or listens on iTunes. You'll follow us right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Subscribe, hit that bell notification. We will be live again on Monday night following Monday Night Raw. Also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Pro Wrestling ULTD. Facebook is fixed, it's working. So that's good. And you can also follow us on Twitter at PW Unlimited. And check out our website, pwunlimited.net, for the latest in pro wrestling news. Have a great night, guys. We'll see you next time.